British entrepreneurialism's greatest success during the Industrial Revolution was the rapid development of new technology before most other nations. And this evolution saw the fewest immediate and negative effects. Cheap products were not a success of the Industrial Revolution because they came at a massive human and societal cost. Entrepreneurs also justified exploitation by transforming cultural attitudes to favor individualism over combination. This transformation was not a moral success, but a business one, because it disempowered the worker and drove costs down. Because the development of new technologies had the fewest human externalities, it was one of entrepreneurialism's only successes during the British Industrial Revolution. Progress only exists if the human cost is severely less than the material reward. But entrepreneurs did not care. The only marker of their success was profit. The textile industry was the first industry to be industrialized, and entrepreneurs sought to substitute Indian cotton imports. To do so, they had to eliminate bottlenecks at every step of the cotton production process, from field to fabric. John Kay's flying shuttle made weaving the most technologically advanced part of the production process, and it eliminated the limitation of an arm's length to the width of a cloth. Richard Hargrave's spinning jenny, Richard Arkwright's water frame, and Edward Cartwright's power loom made the creation of twine and the powering of multiple looms with one power source possible. Eli Whitney's cotton gin also eliminated a bottleneck of labor in the harvesting of cotton. What had taken 2,000 hours in the late 18th century dwindled to only 135 hours in 1825. These technologies made the British textiles industry boom, and they facilitated the creation of more complex and beautiful garments than any humans had ever seen previously. Furthermore, fabric became more affordable because of the economics of scale. The streamlining of the production process was an indisputable success of British tinkering and technology, and it went beyond textiles into glass, iron, chemicals, and machine tools. Entrepreneurialism also gave way to a consumer boom, which was successful in the eyes of the entrepreneurs. Sadly, the exploitive labor needed for the consumer revolution, plus the destructive effects of its products, prevents consumerism from being considered an achievement in the Industrial Revolution. Some believed in the idea of man as a consuming animal with boundless appetites, who was capable of driving the economy to new levels of prosperity. So, some believed consumerism was a sign of economic welfare. Others, like Adam Smith, questioned the morality of consumption. In The Theory of Moral Sentiments, Smith stated, "The curiosity of a toothpick, of an ear picker, of a machine for cutting the nails, or of any other trinket of the same kind is not so obvious." In a consumer economy, people turn to stuff for fulfillment rather than more complex means. And stuff separates them from others and their natural world. More products do not equate to a better off society. In reality, they lead people to work longer hours for more superficial and unfulfilling wants. Unhealthy consumerism in the lower classes led to the destructive industrious revolution that did little to increase the public's health and welfare. All classes redistributed their spending towards sugar, caffeine, tobacco, and chocolate over nutritious food. Addiction to these comestibles affected the lower classes the most. Men, women, and children worked longer hours in exploitive factories to increase their household incomes and fill their addictions. The conditions of these workhouses were inhumane, and children, quote, at the mill, aptly called Hell's Bay, for 2 months at a time, they not only worked regularly from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., but for 2 nights each week worked through the night as well. That is from Hammond and Hammond, The Town Laborer, A New Civilization, 1760 to 1832. Female and child hurriers slaved, back-breakingly pulling coal tubs from underground towards the surface of the mines. Even Adam Smith pitied the workers that made cheap goods possible. He stated of the division of labor, "The man whose whole life is spent performing a few simple operations, naturally loses and generally becomes as stupid and ignorant as it is possible for a human creature to become. The human cost of cheap goods negates any sense of success from this achievement. Some entrepreneurs would consider their ability to justify this exploitation a success, and while it was a win for business, this justification was destructive to society and people as a whole. Andrew Urey lied to his middle-class female audience to justify child labor that was so severe it made slave owners blush. He lied, stating, "I never saw a single instance of corporal chastisement inflicted on a child. They seemed to always be cheerful and alert, taking pleasure in the light play of their muscles, enjoying the mobility natural to their age." Andrew Urey, The Philosophy of Manufactures. Urey's propaganda was nothing short of fiction, as working children suffered incomprehensibly during the Industrial Revolution. Urey was not the only to justify exploitation. Samuel Smiles peddled the ideals of self-control and individualism as a panacea for working-class issues. Entrepreneurs profited from these lies and rhetorics, as British working-class movements of combination and unionization were unfocused, small, and ineffective against the firms that exploited them so heavily. The entrepreneurs' use of rhetoric to prevent combination and unionization was an accomplishment for the entrepreneurs, but it was a moral failure of the Industrial Revolution because it perpetuated the oppression of the working classes. In conclusion, because the development of new technologies saw the fewest immediate and negative externalities for all classes, it was one of the few successes of the Industrial Revolution. The ability of firms to create cheap goods for the masses was seemingly beneficial, but the effects of the superficial consumer revolution and the oppressive forces of the industrious revolution invalidated the achievement factor of cheap goods. Finally, while the entrepreneurial class effectively lied to their societies about the benefits of their positions, this should be considered a shameful act of propaganda, not a triumph of business. The only acceptable definition of societal progress is when human benefits outweigh the human costs. Sadly, the Industrial Revolution was defined with suffering instead of prosperity. I'm Historical Method Man. This was part 2 of the Industrial Revolution series. Stay tuned for part 3 on worker discipline and punishment.